and ready to go with his usual mix of light and shade in the media stories. Where are we starting, sir?
Well, more with the shade. We'll start with one of the big stories today, that bid by the French government to crack down on jihad online, or recruitment of French nationals, European nationals more broadly, to the jihad movement, for the jihad movement in Syria and elsewhere. Let's take a look at some examples of where this particular trend has hit the news in the last year or so, Mark. A lot of these stories hitting the French papers. If you go back to July of last year, two brothers, one by the name of Nicolas, the other Jean Daniel, the older brother, 30 years of age, features here. They published a video on YouTube that got an awful lot of attention because they were explaining their motives for jihad, and at the end they made an appeal for the French president to convert to Islam. Here is their grandmother receiving a postcard from them from Syria, where they're recounting their journeys. Now, what's interesting about these two young men, who later died, in fact, is their embrace of the holy war struggle in Syria, despite having absolutely no historical or family connections with the country. And indeed, that, interest was developed from the internet and from researching it online, which is exactly what the French Interior Minister today said that they would like to crack down on, certainly asking social networks such as Facebook to survey more closely the activities of, jihadi propagandists online. Another story that we know a lot about at France 24, going back to January, one of our internet journalists, Charlotte Boitiot, she noticed on her Facebook news feed a friend of hers from several years back who was now fighting holy war in Syria, and she actually communicated with him over a series of weeks and tried to tell his story online. All trace was lost of him afterwards. It seems that he might also have perished in that holy war. Recently, back in January, two French teenagers from the Toulouse region, 15 and 16 years of age, booked tickets with their father's credit card, and unbeknownst to the parents, off they went to Syria for 2 or 3 weeks, where they were encouraged to continue that propaganda effort on social media. Once they arrived, they were being encouraged by groups, leaders, etc., to talk about being aspiring fighters, to pose with weapons, to upload the photos onto Facebook. It's not just in France. There are other stories in the Netherlands. A Dutch jihadist who has a blog that got an awful lot of attention. Also, 3 British extremists in Syria using social media to talk about their experiences. So I suppose what's interesting here is, yes, the internet is playing a role in encouraging certain people who are seeking out this information to go on jihad, but also because they're tracking their own experiences online and sharing those experiences, it's a very visible phenomenon.
Jihad, literally translated as holy war.
Right.
I feel uncomfortable with that because I don't think any war can be holy, can it?
Well, it's kind of contradiction in terms.
Indeed,
fair point,
indeed.
Absolutely.
Let's move on to a big TV moment here in France.
Yes.
Anne Sinclair.
That's right, the wife of Dominique Strauss-Kahn. Now, a lot of people will be familiar with photos such as this one, where she appeared alongside Dominique Strauss-Kahn during his trial in New York, during all of the fallout of the accusations of attempted rape. In any case, this was the first time, 3 years later, really, that she spoke to the media about that experience. She was almost universally applauded in the media after that interview. A lot of people thinking she really came across as very sincere, saying that she just didn't know about his private life, about the way he was behaving, I suppose, behind her back, so to speak. A huge amount of deconstruction of that interview, which she gave to the France 2 network, right down to this rather ridiculous article in Le Figaro, where they are picking apart her body language and saying that because one eye is a little bit smaller, that it's a sign of emotional stress, Mark. So
I'm not surprised there's emotional stress. The poor woman's been dragged through the mud, hasn't she? Just to remind people, I mean, she was the main sort of news face of France. I think her face was actually used as that of Marianne, the national symbol of France, as a depiction of that as well. Someone who was a real sort of huge
I think she
France.
Presented a current affairs show for 13 years straight. She interviewed François Mitterrand. She had a whole career before marrying Dominique Strauss-Kahn.
And then dragged through the mud by this affair.
Absolutely.
James, thank you very much
Thanks,
indeed
Mark.
for bringing us our Media Watch. James Creedon there, as ever. Time for us to take a short break. After that, more news. Stay with us here live from Paris.